Hey everyone, how you doing today? It is Thursday, and mentioned in our daily financial news, we have the wonderful and legendary Jonathan Twomley with us. How you doing, sir?
I don't know about legendary, but
Well, you're a
I'm
legend to me.
thank you, Michael. I I'm doing great this morning. It's a beautiful day here in New York City, and
That's awesome.
all's right with the world.
That's
So
right. All is right with the world. We got to talk about unemployment, but today's the day. I'm putting a stake in the ground. We're gonna flip the script. For the last, I'll call it 52 weeks. It feels we have been talking about the unemployment picture. We were trying to get under 700,000 for the longest time. We broke it 4 or 5 weeks ago. And over the weekend, I crossed my fingers and I'm like, could we get under 500? Can we get under 500? And we did it. 498,000 new claims this week. Um, Gosh, what do you think?
I mean, it feels like the floodgates have opened. Don't you
Oh,
think?
yeah.
It just feels different. Like
Yep.
suddenly there's an enormous amount of momentum. There's good news on many different fronts. you know, Half of the population has had at least one shot
Hmm.
at this point, and people are just feeling much, much better. And like unbelievably, out of the blue, Governor Cuomo just reopened New York State, like took everybody by surprise.
Yeah.
2 weeks, May 19th, it's all open.
It's all open.
It's all
No,
open.
yeah, Broadway. I mean, that was the one for me in New York. It's like, when are they going to open Broadway? Right.
Yeah.
First, I love Broadway shows. I think that is a huge attraction. We have gone to New York many times just for Broadway shows. And to hear him say, or I guess I didn't hear him say, I read he said, Broadway's open, no capacity constraints. I'm like, holy
I
shoot.
mean, it's really something. And it's great. It's just great. It's great news.
Yeah.
And you know, it's gonna make this, I think we're going to see, like, if all of Broadway is back at work, right, you're going to see these jobless claims, continuing to go down.
And again,
And
people don't know how big Broadway is. I looked it up. They're anticipating 100,000 jobs coming back quickly
oh yeah, I
for
mean,
Broadway. 100,000 in New York. It's not like 100,000 across the country. This is 100,000 in New York.
yeah, I mean, you just think about, it's not just like the actors, it's all the backstage people and the
Stage and
ushers
music
and the
is, yeah.
ticket takers, and then all the restaurants around there that people go to. I mean, almost everybody who goes to Broadway goes to dinner before
Absolutely.
or
It's a
after the
thing,
show.
right? It's the
Yeah,
date night or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, the parking attendants, like
Yeah.
it's going to have a huge effect on Manhattan and on New York City employment, which is
Oh,
just fantastic. Plus the tourism jobs, right? You think like now people are going to come back to watch Broadway shows, the hotels are
exactly.
going to, the Uber drivers are going to benefit. Like everybody is going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So it is a huge, huge thing, and extraordinarily welcome, and
Yeah.
just adds to the kind of drumbeat of good news, which I think is
Yeah, the
really
momentum. I've been telling my channel for at least 3 weeks now. We are standing in the light. About a month ago, we were kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We are clearly in the light. The sun is beating down. If we're not careful, we're going to get sunburned. Right? That's how bright the sun is. And when momentum goes like this, it just builds on itself. Right?
yeah.
And what we're going to do today, right? Kind of the stake in the ground comment is. We're going to talk about the employer and not the employee, right? I'm hearing things from across the country that employers are having a hard time hiring people fast enough. I've heard for the first time since like 2004 or five, where employers are giving existing employees a bonus to bring their friends to get hired. So not only a signing bonus to the employee, but we will give a signing bonus to the referral. I mean, that stuff hasn't existed for 15 years. It's coming.
And and I think, like, there've been a lot of people out there who have been saying like, hey, it's because people are making more money on unemployment. There's probably some of that, except people always forget, if you're turning down work, you are not eligible for unemployment anymore. And obviously people who lie, right? But you you're not. I mean, as the caseload start coming down, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, all this stuff went out the window because the caseloads were just so enormous that the
Yeah.
states just, there was no way they could
Yes,
dig into cases. But now as the caseloads come down, you better believe that they're going to start getting more aggressive about
for
people
sure.
have who have had the ability to go back to work and are not doing it. But the other piece of this is that some people have moved, like they
Yep, for
left,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
They're not there anymore. Or they've gone and gotten a different job in some other industry, right? And
Yeah.
so that is why it's been hard for employers just to like turn the spigot back on and get people in the door because people have moved on,
Oh,
right?
no,
So it's
exactly.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that makes it also really tough, and that's why you're seeing some of this dislocation as well.
Yeah.
It's not purely people being lazy; it's that a lot of
No,
people
no.
have other
Yeah.
things to do. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that's interesting. Now, I wanted to talk about in this context like
Sure.
inflation
Oh,
as
for
well.
sure. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I think and obviously a lot of people are we've got a lot of different sort of noise going on out there about
Hmm.
inflation, and Janet Yellen is saying it's all temporary. The Ryan Severino, who's the chief economist at Jones Lang LaSalle, says he thinks that these are temporary bottlenecks in the economy that are going to work themselves out as people get back to work. But then you've got other people going, hey, this is crazy, look at what's
Hmm.
going on, there's going to be inflation. The thing that I look at,
Okay.
which I think is pretty determinative, and I don't hear a lot of, maybe I'm not listening to the right people. I haven't heard a lot of people like in my network talking about this. The bond market. The
Yep.
bond market, treasuries are trading at still, under 2%.
Yep. Yeah.
And if the
Shoot.
bond market,
Under 1.6 today. Yeah.
if the bond market thought there was going to be inflation, you better believe that those bond yields would be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that, you know, that's where I would be concerned. If you started seeing the price of treasuries like really going up,
Yeah.
then I think like, yeah, this is because of inflation. But I think
Yeah.
that the bond market
Hmm.
is believing the temporary logjam,
Okay.
the temporary supply demand imbalance story, as opposed to like there's something structural that's changed and we're going to have really high inflation for a sustained period of
Yeah.
time.
Well, I think there's two things on this topic, and there's actually three things I want to say. So first off, I've been watching inflation and talking about it for decades now as an economist, and I think one thing that we're going to happen in this cycle is we are going to truly have wage inflation. Right, back to the earlier conversation about people moving in jobs and this and that and attracting resources. Historically, right, the business owner would quote unquote get the lion's share of the extra. I think it's going to fall to the employees this time, unlike before. So I think wage inflation is going to be larger than we've seen,
Well,
certainly in the last decade or so.
I mean, there's a pendulum, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
all through the 40s and 50s and 60s,
Mm-hmm.
labor got a bigger share of the
Yeah,
pie,
and it's
right?
just coming back
And then it swung in the other direction pretty dramatically,
for sure.
and now it's coming back. I mean, even I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
big Economist special edition 3-4 weeks ago, which you can get online. I wish I hadn't thrown away my magazine. I'd like to refer back to that. But the they did a big special issue about how the pendulum is swinging back, and they essentially said this really doesn't have anything to do with COVID, right? It's not about the recovery from COVID. This is about kind of structural changes in the economy that are
Mm-hmm.
swinging the pendulum back in favor of working people. One of the big ones is like the slowdown of population growth
Yeah.
in
Oh yeah, for sure.
most major economies, right? People having fewer children, which is that's what happens. Countries get richer, people have fewer children. Just it's like the law of the way things work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Countries get richer, everything gets more expensive. It's, the trade-off between working and not working gets more expensive as wages go up. You want to work,
Mm-hmm.
you can't have children, childcare becomes more expensive. It's like a vicious cycle. So in
Mm-hmm.
every rich country, you see birth rates plummeting, right? And the countries that have any kind of population growth are ones with immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you see like Canada, for instance, getting really aggressive with immigration. Like they announced yesterday that they're gonna, they were kind of like the model for the people who wanted to reform the US immigration system and have this point system. They only bring in like really educated people who speak English. And it's like, that was what the people in the US are saying, we need to adopt that system. Canada is now saying, hey, as a result of COVID, we realize how valuable all these unskilled workers are, and we're loosening
Oh
the
wow,
we're bringing those people in,
I did not know
and
that.
so that they just announced that this week. So Canada is like ramping up the immigration spigot because
Hmm.
they also know like, hey, if we don't keep the population growing, we can't support our economy.
Yeah.
So, um, when you look at countries like Japan,
Hmm.
China, the U.S., all of Western Europe, uh, the populations are just everywhere that is like middle class and above. The
Hmm.
countries' populations are grinding to like below replacement value. So below replacement. So that works in favor of workers, right?
Yeah.
There's fewer of them to take the jobs, and so that helps push up the value of labor. So it's not a bad thing to be putting more money in people's pockets.
No, I agree.
And this is just the market functioning essentially. So
Yeah. Well, now I want to have you be a part of tomorrow. So tomorrow, I believe, was the biggest number of the week, or yeah, biggest number of the week. I've been talking about it all week on my channel, and that is how many jobs were created in the month of April. Right now, the estimate is 1 million folks. After I think it was 996 or 962 the month before. I have an over under it actually 1.5 million. I believe we're going to print.
wow.
I believe we're going to print north of that. So I've taken the over. I'm asking everyone, what do they want, the over or the under it at 1.5?
Well, I'm going to take the under on that. I
Ah,
don't think
okay.
it's 1.5.
Okay.
It would be great. Obviously, be happy, but that's we're seeing estimates of a
Yep.
million and a half. Eat that by 50%. That's quite a bit. So I'm going to take the under on the
Cool. I
1.5.
like it. Yeah. And then the last thing to talk about is the bond market. I do think tomorrow is going to be market moving one way or the other, because I think tomorrow's print for April jobs, if it comes in above 1.5, the bond market will react. The bond market will
Yeah,
not like it.
but how much react? Like
Oh, I
react
don't,
meaning, yeah. I mean, like
I don't know,
it may move,
a
but I don't.
tenth of a basis probably, right? So that's, I mean, on a percentage basis, that's kind of huge. But I mean, it's going to be a signal if it is that big. And obviously, you're taking the under, so I could be way off. But I just anything that comes out of the that good that surprises people will get their attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, we will see. We'll know for
yeah, well,
They're
no,
also
yeah. Go ahead.
they're also saying that second quarter growth is going to be. I mean, Goldman Sachs I think came out saying second quarter growth is going to be 10%,
Yeah,
which
double digits. That's where I've been at. I mean, they started at 8, but now people are coming up to where I'm at 10%. It's going
I
to
mean
be
I
a
think
good number.
listen, if we're seeing stuff happening like New York reopening and Broadway coming back, then yeah, I think there's some plausibility to it. So it'll we're going to see pretty strong bounce back.
Yep, I
And
agree.
like I said before, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out with the businesses that went under um,
Hmm.
completely, right?
Yep.
And how that sort of affects things. One thing we didn't mention was that continuing claims actually went up slightly uh, this week, right? So
Yep.
it was percentage wise not a blip,
Yep.
but it still did go up slightly. There's still 3.7 million people who are getting some kind of extended unemployment,
Hmm.
and that's basically double what it was before. And
Yeah,
so
I think all of that starts to come down because, again, that's why we're going to change the stake of the ground today. I think all of that is true. All of it's horrible. All of it's bad. All that good stuff. But going forward, people are hiring across the country. It's not like just Florida, right? It's
yeah, but as I said though, we've talked about this before. You kind of you get the low hanging fruit, but then you get into the people who work for businesses that don't exist anymore and have to find basically have to get new business creation to
Mhm.
rehire those people. If
Yep.
you look at the trend, I'm looking at a CNBC article
Mhm.
right now, which is called "Jobless Claims Tumble Below 500,000," and another sign the labor market is getting closer to pre-pandemic levels. This is published this morning at 8:30.
Yep. I read that one.
If you look at the continuing claims for unemployment insurance and just look at the trend line, you know, the slope of that line has really tailed off, right, in
Mhm.
terms of bringing that number down. And I think it's because of this very factor where you're getting at the low hanging fruit, but a lot of that low hanging fruit is gone, and there's still these people whose jobs have not come back yet and may not come back, and now they've got to go and
Get
you know
something else.
get something else, and that's going to depend on new business creation. Now,
Mhm.
I don't know what you're seeing in California, and this is only obviously a very small sample, but I'm seeing a lot of new restaurants being, you know, You walk
Grand
around,
reopenings.
yeah, and just stuff, restaurants that were gone. Now they've got all the paper on the window. Somebody's in there working to build
Yep.
something out. And,
It's coming.
so I think we're going to see a lot of that bouncing back. Um, and I think it'll also be interesting to see whether, I think actually like in New York City, a lot of people really like this outdoor dining thing.
Mm.
And I wonder if restaurants are going to be allowed to keep their outdoor dining spaces and essentially now have double capacity,
Yeah,
right? To be able to
exactly. Yeah,
fill up inside and outside. I think they should. I think they should let them make up for all the business that they didn't
I
do,
agree.
and make it easier to get a table
Yeah.
for everyone else.
Well, this is going to be good, right? I've been waiting for this. We actually joked months and quarters ago about we look forward to the day that we can kind of flip the script. Well, you know what? May 6th, we flipped the script. It's life is getting better across the country on the jobless front. So, Jonathan, thank you very much, and get on
Absolutely.
to number 2.